Sup, Tech Nerds, Lottie here. Again, it has been some time, over a month if I am recalling correctly. That's for two very good reasons. One, very busy, which we'll get into at the end of this video. And two, I've actually been away. So I was in Japan for quite a large period of that time, and that was both work related and play related. So I went for a lovely ski holiday, actually snowboarding, and I also got to experience some really cool stuff, which I'll talk about again really shortly. The second point that I really want to quickly make is I'm sick, so that's why I sound so different right now, which ironically has let me catch up with making my YouTube content. So you're going to hear a mixture of old Lottie and sick Lottie today during the next couple of voiceover sections, I should say, because yeah, some of this was filmed before today and a lot of it was filmed during today. So yeah, you can probably very quickly find out which is which. But yes, I am sick, that's why. Slowly getting over it. So I can't talk too much about why I did work in Japan, or what sort of work rather I should say. But what I can say is I saw a lot of tanks, a lot of tanks. I couldn't film any of it. There's a couple of little film segments that you'll see right off the bat. And those are actually two very spontaneous F-35 flybys that happened while we were snowboarding, of all things. So, yeah, I was allowed to film those. Obviously, I wasn't allowed to take pictures or film on a military base, which is where I did actually go to. So, not allowed to film or take pictures. I asked, not allowed to. So unfortunately, there's only two little pictures at the entrance gate where they told me I was allowed to take a picture. So you'll see that at the end somewhere. I did actually manage to go to the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force Information Center, which has pretty much the full range of vehicles, armored vehicles at the military's disposal, as well as some aircraft and some other little bits and pieces. Unfortunately, it was pouring down with rain on that day, so yeah, outside time was fairly limited. And for those who have been to Japan, they'll know that filming and taking pictures, you need to be careful. It's more of a cultural thing that you just shouldn't film people in any sense without their permission, which is perfectly understandable. I like it. But especially when there's families involved, and unfortunately there were a lot of families at this information center. So filming, not ideal, but I did get pictures of pretty much everything that I wanted to, which is really good. So yeah, basically we're going to jump straight into it. We're going to have a look at the F-35s, and then we're going to have a look at the information center, and I'm going to talk a little bit more at the end about all the projects that we've been doing back here at home. And the next videos will all be like starting to come out next week, so I'm really going to jump on it. I'm going to be starting to call next month April, Aviation April, because I've got a lot of aviation related content. I know it's not really on brand, but that's just how it is. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my trip to Japan. Alrighty, we're going to start off with these F-35s. Now, unfortunately, you get to put up with me for the rest of the video instead of two cool F-35s. That is simply because the second F-35 flew over when I was near the top of the chairlift, which was unfortunate because they play music exceedingly loud. So much so that if I did include this, the audio in this YouTube video, it would get flagged almost immediately. So yeah, sorry about that, but that's how things have to go. Moving on though, we are now at the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force Information Center, which is really a mouthful. But yeah, the first couple of vehicles were at the entrance gate, so you can see these anytime you decide to drive on by. There is a little border just behind, so yes, you gotta say hi before you're allowed to come in. But yeah, these were, really cool that they just, have them out here. There was no plaque on the smaller vehicle that you're looking at now, but there was for the larger vehicle. Unfortunately, everything in this video is going to be Japanese from now on, because they don't show anything in English for the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force, which does make sense in hindsight because it is the information center for Japanese people to get involved. What we are looking at now is their primary attack helicopter, which I really quite enjoyed. The front seat is for the gunner and the rear seat is for the pilot. There is actually a simulator just off to the side. Again, couldn't really take any pictures because they were constantly being occupied by families. I did get to use it at one point, even though it is technically a flight simulator. It is very much dumbed down, specifically for children. I just want to point out that I absolutely dominated at it. Had no issues whatsoever. The displays themselves are actually really quite interesting inside the information center. Even if I couldn't read any of it, it was still very well presented, very clean as you would expect, and a very high amount of interactability. There was an entire VR experience that you can take. You don't need to know the language to participate, and I thought it was actually really quite cool. Moving on to the armored vehicles on display, which is what we're all here for, we have their latest and greatest, the Type 16 mobility combat vehicle. I believe a few of those words are probably mixed around a little bit, but that is what they told me. But then again, going from Japanese to English can sometimes be a little bit interesting. I took a picture really quickly of that little guy because his, even though it's supposed to be a Japanese quote-unquote camouflage pattern, resembles strongly to the Swiss camouflage pattern, in my opinion. Anyway, back to the Type 16. The naming conventions used on all their armored vehicles basically follows a very simple method, and that is introduction. There are a few other Japanese suffixes that they use, but that can be used for another video. Essentially, what you need to know is that the Type 16 was introduced in 2016. Moving on, we have some small arms. So these were actually really interesting to look at because all three of these use the exact 5.56 NATO standard cartridge. So all their small arms use the exact same rounds, which is nice to know. And then there is a shoulder-mounted rocket projector of some sort. You can also see their camouflage, their digital camouflage on either side, which noticeably has a distinctly different brown to the red that you saw on the little character before, which leads me to believe that the little character looks more like he should be part of the Swiss military. That's just my thoughts. Anyway, here is what we're all here for, the tanks. So this is the lineup of their modern tanks. So basically anything post-1970s. Working our way from newest to oldest, we have the Type 10. So remembering our naming convention, this was introduced into the Japanese Defense Force in 2010. It is a beast of a machine. Modularity is key on a lot of these vehicles. So you'll notice that they are probably significantly smaller in some aspects to their Western counterparts, and that is again mobility, mobility, mobility. So these are designed to be used within the borders of Japan. Though on exercise they have gone overseas, they are designed to take basically full effect of the Japanese rail system, the road system, and the extremely mountainous terrain. So they are high mobility, highly modular. A lot of them can actually be broken down to their constituents in a not rapid fashion, but in a more portable fashion. So a lot of these vehicles are actually transportable. Just really quickly, we had the Type 90 there, which was the Type 10's older brother. A lot of the same design concepts went into both of those tanks, just a lot of upgradability. My favorite of the lineup is this one, the Type 74. It is the first, to my knowledge, the first since World War II, obviously, first Japanese alt-designed tank. So, yes, there are components taken from other militaries. However, this tank was designed by Mitsubishi, to my knowledge, and it still uses a Mitsubishi power plant and all the same ideas. Interestingly enough, it was the second, I believe, after the S-Tank to introduce a full hydropneumatic suspension system, which is just cool. I'm always a fan of the hydropneumatic suspension system. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. This is the Type, trying to remember, I think it's an 89 model infantry fighting vehicle, very similar to a Bradley tank. And there we go, Type 89. So I'm reading this at the same time as you guys are, as I'm doing the voiceover. So yeah, infantry fighting vehicles. Interestingly enough, it was the only Type 89 that I saw on my entire trip. Moving on, we have the anti-air, I guess you would call it their version of the Gepard. And in fact, to my eye, and from what I could see, it utilizes pretty much the exact same fighting equipment as the Gepard, just on a slightly different turret and different lower chassis, and its typing being the Type 87. As far as I know, those were all of the modern sort of 1970s onwards armored vehicles that they used. This was a rather interesting addition that I saw. I would have had no idea beforehand, but talking to the people that were with me who are Japanese locals and can speak Japanese, this is actually an amphibious mine layer. Coming from Australia, where the laying of mines is strictly prohibited, I thought this was rather interesting, especially given that its designation is Type 94, which is, well, actually 30 years ago, 31 years ago now that I think of it, which is still quite modern by other militaries' comparisons. And way off in the distance, we couldn't get to it because, again, it was raining and they'd closed off a lot of it, is an Amtrak for amphibious deployments, which is really cool. That's the closest I've ever been to one, which is annoying. Moving on, there's a couple more aviation bits, which, again, I didn't expect to see this little guy out here, but this is, in fact, their little drone. So purely for observation, I do not believe it has any offensive capabilities or defensive, just from what they told me. But it does behave identically to a model RC helicopter, just with its own little internal combustion engine. I think it's really cute. I would love one. I don't know if they are still in service. Again, there was no typing or anything. And because it was raining and you can see a patch of snow, it was cold, it was miserable, it was wet. And no one really could tell me too much more about it. I will definitely be looking into that into the future. Here is believe it's Humvee adjacent. I think it uses similar sort of components, but I don't believe it is an actual Humvee. But this is a missile platform, anti-air missile platform on a wheeled chassis. Lastly, they have the artillery components, which again, I only saw these artillery pieces in my entire trip. The base that I went to did not display or have any artillery components in its set. The first artillery piece we're going to look at here is a 105 Type 74. Very similar to, I suppose, an Abbott would probably be a good comparison to make. Smaller, more mobile, smaller caliber. And then this one is a 155 millimeter, obviously for much longer range. To my eye, it looks to be on the same chassis as the anti-air platform that we saw before. So they've got pretty much all of their bases covered, as you would expect for a modern military, even if some of it is perhaps a little older than you would expect. Again, remembering that their newest bit of equipment was introduced in 2016. For all the aviation buffs out there, we have more helicopters, because why not? It's pretty noticeable that this is probably the least Japanese item on this list. It is a UH-1H, which is basically Huey to all of us normal people. This is very similar to the Hueys near my workshop, except this one appears to be a single turbine, not a double. But same shape, a lot of the same parts. Now on to some important stuff. We are obviously looking at a Type 74, but it is not at the Japanese Ground Self-Defense Force Information Center. This is actually in the Gotemba City armored training unit center. So this is an active military base. I was allowed to go onto the base, obviously being shown around by the base colonel. We had a marvelous look around. Again, I'm not really allowed to say too much more, but we saw loads of stuff. I was very impressed with their lineup, everything that they had, everything that they do there was just fantastic. I got to look at the hydro-pneumatic suspension system in person, in operation, which is just wild. I really, 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 really wish I could film it and show you guys. Sadly, I couldn't. But take my word for it, it's awesome. I also found out from a lot of this, yes, the Type 74 has a full hydro-pneumatic suspension system, but I believe the Type 90 and the Type 10 actually use a hybrid system. That is to say that the middle pair of road wheels actually use a torsion bar system, not hydro-pneumatic. So that basically allows for the tank to rock forwards and backwards, but no longer from side to side. The Type 74 could do that, but I believe the newer models cannot. I believe it was more of a simplicity sort of thinking. Yes, the hydro-pneumatic suspension system isn't exactly the most complicated system in the world. It's basically just a pneumatic ram attached to the swing arm, which allows it to go up and back. Again, really annoying. They actually had a full cutout of the hydro-pneumatic suspension system, and I was not allowed to take a picture of it. I asked, it was in a sealed room, it was made for training, but I wasn't allowed to take a picture. I did ask, so you'll have to trust me on that. But yeah, the fact that they went from full hydro-pneumatic to partial is rather interesting, in my opinion. But it is set up that way. And just really quickly before we end on more information, the vehicle that you're looking at is a late sort of hybridization between Japanese and American technologies. The name escapes me at the moment. This was the only version of this vehicle that I saw during my entire trip. Okay, so there you have it. What I am allowed to talk about. Obviously, this is my second trip to Japan for business-related stuff. I will be allowed to talk more about everything that's been going on towards the end of the year, as I am currently being led to believe. We'll see how that goes. We have so many projects going on at the same time. It is just really, really, really hard to show everything that we're doing, let alone talk about it. So yes, everything will be revealed in time. I don't like being secretive. Unfortunately, this is just one of those situations where I kind of have to. But I have it on very, very, very good authority that I will be allowed to say everything once we have reached a certain critical threshold. Stuff that I am allowed to talk about is the current work. So my last video was on the 105 howitzer. That's been done since the start of the year. We are now almost April. So that's a good demonstrator of how far behind the videos that I am. I've actually filmed a lot. I've filmed a lot. But I just haven't been putting it out because, again, that's all time. So I have to do these voiceovers, introducing the video, and just making sure that it all makes sense. Trying to get on top of that does mean that I have to pull back on some work, which isn't great because I make all my money from work. Yay. But yes, so the 105 is done. I've almost finished my next project already, which is aviation related. At the start of the video, I did say it will probably be Aviation April themed. That is because my last project, my current project, and one of the events that we attended were all aviation related. So again, a little bit off brand, being Lottie the Tank Whisperer. It's military restoration. It's all restoration. So if you like restoration, you're going to love these videos just as much. I've actually learned a lot about these from these restorations just because they are so different to my normal big, heavy metal armored vehicle restorations. So a bit more finesse involved in these ones, but no less fun. So you've got a lot to look forward to. Sorry. Now, for those more eager to learn about what we're doing the rest of the year, we have, again, a lot of projects lined up. So much so that we are perhaps even looking at bringing more people on board. Won't say much more on that. We're still looking at it. Nothing's cemented or anything, but it is just to demonstrate how much work we have at the moment. Yes, we will be looking at those other avenues. Peter and myself will be attending Aquino again this year. So this will be my third year and Peter's second year attending. So this is Aquino, Canada. The event, it's in Oshawa. So for my Canadian / American, maybe even European viewers, if you want to catch up, we are going to be there for the full event. So there will be more than enough opportunity. If you do see us, I'm going to be talking more about this as it goes on. If you see us at Aquino and we're not working on stuff, which we will be working stuff on, but there will be plenty of time when we're just out and about mingling, you are more than welcome to come up and say hi or whatever. I don't bite much. Peter doesn't bite, I don't believe. I don't know. You'll have to find out, but I don't. Not much. So yes, that's going to be the long and the short of it. I've already sort of talked enough. My voice is slightly getting better. I've noticed just as I've been doing all this voiceover. So, but it has basically been almost 20 minutes of me coughing into the camera. So I'm going to leave it there. I wish you all a lovely rest of your day. I hope to see you again very shortly. I am aiming for 2 videos minimum a week. Probably looking at a Tuesday, Thursday sort of Australian release period. Don't know about the rest of the world. It's probably going to be like a day after. I can't help that I live in the future. So yeah, that's going to be it from Sick Lottie. I hope to see you again very shortly. Not sick and back in the workshop. So yes, I will see you on the next one. Bye.